Imagine being born already receiving your first wound before even seeing the light of the world. Imagine growing up in a house where violence was the language spoken every single day. Now, imagine that this child, abused, ignored, and marked since the womb, would become the deadliest serial killer in the history of Brazil and the fifth most lethal in the entire world. This is Pedro Rodrigues Filho, known forever as Pedrinho Matador. Pedro was born on a farm in Minas Gerais with a cracked skull caused by the kicks his father gave his pregnant mother's belly. The house where Pedro grew up was hell. His father beat his mother. He beat him. Poverty was total. Love was non-existent. Pedro ran away from home at just 9 years old, trying to leave that sad life behind. Even at that age, he was already committing small crimes on the streets of São Paulo. But the worst was yet to come. His first crime happened when he was just 13 years old. Pedro claimed he pushed a cousin into a sugarcane grinder and then hacked him with a machete. 13 years old, a child, and he had already taken a life. 1 year later, at just 14 years old, his father was fired by the deputy mayor on accusations of stealing food from the school kitchen. Pedrinho shot the deputy mayor dead in front of City Hall. To Pedrinho, that wasn't a crime, it was justice. After the murders, Pedrinho fled to Mogi das Cruzes in São Paulo. He got involved with the widow of a drug lord, took over the illegal business, and began eliminating rivals. He robbed drug dens, killed enemies, and built a reputation of terror on the streets. Pedrinho was arrested in 1973. At just 18 years old, sentenced to 128 years in prison. But prison didn't stop him. While being transferred, he already murdered his travel companion. Both were handcuffed together. Inside the bars, Pedrinho created his own rules. Rapists, pedophiles, and killers of innocents were his preferred targets. He killed in the cafeteria, in the cell, in the yard, and even in the prison van. And then came the most shocking crime of his entire history. His mother was murdered by his own father with 21 stab wounds. When Pedrinho found out, he went straight to his father's cell and killed him with 22 stab wounds. One more, a debt his father could never repay. Pedro was sentenced to nearly 400 years in prison. But something curious happened. Some people saw him as a hero, a vigilante, someone who did what the state couldn't. Monster to some, vigilante to others. In 1986, he was already the author of 40 homicides. Having never attended school, he learned to read in prison, where he read books like Roots by Alex Haley, a killer who learned to read behind bars and who said he wanted to be understood, not just feared. In 2007, he was released after 34 years behind bars. 4 years later, he returned to prison. When he finally came out in 2018, Pedro tried to rebuild his life as a completely different man. He converted to Christianity and created a YouTube channel warning young people about the dangers of crime. He said, "Crime is not a game. Many are getting in because they see the branches, fame and money, not the roots, prison and death." That violence would return one final time. On March 5th, 2023, two masked men approached Pedro on a sidewalk in Mogi das Cruzes. One shot him 4 times, the other slit his throat with a kitchen knife. Pedro was 68 years old. Brazil's greatest serial killer died the same way he lived, by violence. Convicted of 71 murders, claimed to have killed over 100, and to this day, His killers have never been found. Pedro Rodrigues Filho, born wounded, lived killing, and died on the streets. He never truly managed to escape. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Next week, the story of the Maniaco do Parque, the killer who terrorized São Paulo and was sentenced to 268 years in prison. You won't want to miss it.